Any great result for you last weekend in the derby? What sort of week have you had following that really positive result?
Yeah, a good week. Good training week. We've enjoyed being back on the grass with the players. First full week in a long time. Hopefully the players have enjoyed it, and yeah, we're ready to go.
Just want to revisit one aspect of Derby Day that seems to have upset some in the red and white corner, and that's the picture that you took on the pitch at full time in front of your supporters. We know that you take pictures after every victory, usually in the dressing room. So why on this occasion did that take place outside on the pitch?
I think I said after the game, I think that was inspired by Jason. I think he's just grabbed Serena over and the picture's been taken on the pitch. So I think it was spontaneous, it wasn't planned. From our perspective, black and white perspective, it's a nice memory, a nice snapshot of a really good moment for us. There's certainly no disrespect intended to Sunderland.
And the win last weekend has taken you into the fourth round, where you've been drawn against another Premier League team in Fulham, away from home. What do you make of the draw?
Yeah, I was watching the draw and seeing that hand go in, and you're thinking, please, because we wanted, you want a home game for obvious reasons, and unfortunately it went against us. So being the last ball out, we knew we had Fulham to play, and that's going to be a tough game for us.
It's going to be a Saturday night match away for the fans in London, and I think the only away fixture domestically you've had this season that hasn't been switched in some way, either the date or the kick-off time, was Luton just before Christmas. So the supporters have had a lot of inconvenience when they just want to watch their team. You must have some sympathy for them, because that's going to be a difficult trip for them. It's going to be very hard to get back from London on a Saturday night. Yeah,
I do have sympathy for them, and I think we're all at the mercy of the TV companies and when they want to schedule games, and I don't think enough consideration is given to the supporters and what they have to do to get to and from the games. Now, to get back from London at that time is going to be incredibly difficult, and my sympathies are with our supporters on that one.
You lost Joe Linton at the start of the second half last weekend. What are the prospects for him over the next couple of weeks following that injury?
The prospects over the next couple of weeks aren't good. It's an injury that will see him certainly miss probably a minimum of 6 weeks. It's a real blow for us, because he's such an important player. He's had a very stop-start season, unfortunately, this year, where he was so consistent last year in his selection. He's had a few different problems, and this is a big blow.
Is anyone coming back who can fill that vacancy, that void in the team?
Well, certainly we have no one immediately coming back, but also we have no one like Joe Linton. So you're never going to get a like-for-like replacement. He is our midfield driving force, really, physically. We've got no one like him, so it's a big blow.
Just want to ask you lastly a couple of questions on Manchester City. They are a few points back behind Liverpool at the top, but they do have a game in hand. Are they still the team to beat?
Yeah, I think they are. I think they're the team to beat. I think for obvious reasons, really. Their record in recent seasons has been incredible, and I think the last few seasons, they've sort of been in a similar pattern, really, where they've just timed their run. And then the second half of the season, they've been very, very difficult to play against once they have that momentum and that target to go for. So I think they've got the best manager in the world. Their style of play is very, very difficult to combat. So we have a lot of different challenges this weekend, but I believe that we can really compete in this game, and I think we've prepared well, so hopefully that reflects on what we do.
And you've already met at St James's Park this season in the League Cup in September. Now both teams made a lot of changes that night. What, if anything, can you take from that experience, because you came out on top and got a brilliant result?
Yeah, I think that the two games against them this year have been very interesting. Tactically, I think you learn a lot from every game that you play against teams like Manchester City and Liverpool. I think it was a tight game at the Etihad. I thought we were in the game. There's certain things we were frustrated with. The Carabao Cup game, I think, was a very different game. They were different, we were different, but still we delivered what we wanted to do on a very high level.
Thanks.
No problem. Hi Eddie. What is the nature of Joe Linton's injury?
He's got a problem with his tendon in his quad. Without going too detailed, it's a very difficult place to get an injury, hence the time scale that he's going to be out. So he's very disappointed. He's very, he wants to play, he wants to do well. So, we've had to do a job of trying to pick Joe up, really.
You must be fed up talking about injuries, and especially for someone like Joe Linton, it feels like his season has kind of been stop-start throughout.
Yeah, very much so. I think look, we haven't wanted to focus on the injury situation because it's really only negative. There's not much good to be had from talking about it consistently or highlighting it. Joey's injury again is another freak one, really, where he's off balance trying to switch a play, gets pushed in the back, and his leg goes at an awkward angle and then ends up with an injury. But unfortunately for us, any injury we've picked up this year hasn't been a sort of 1 or 2 week injury. Everything's been six to 8 weeks at a time when we can't afford it. We're really stretched in the attacking areas, midfield areas, and we have been for a long time. So it's inhibited our ability to rest players and also change the flow of games by bringing players on that can make a difference. So it's been difficult.
I was just about to say to you, it feels like you're getting players back, but then I looked at the list and there was 10 missing, including Tonali and the likes of Mankio, who's obviously been out for a while. You add Joe Linton to the list, and you're back to 11 again. At which point does that become a concern, and at which point does it become a need to maybe do something in this January transfer window just to cover for the amount of players you've got missing?
I think in an ideal world, given the freedom to act, we would have brought players in already. But we're not in that situation. As Darren alluded to yesterday during the interviews that he delivered, financial fair play is a problem for us, and we're having to navigate around that. So, that's the position we're in. In regard to your question, when does it become a problem? I think it's already a problem, but we're just trying to manage through it.
How frustrating is it when the club are owned by a public investment fund, richest owners in the world, and it feels like the money's there, but you're not able to spend it due to the restrictions of FFP and PSR? Yeah,
I think it's a frustration for everyone connected with us, because I think we would like, well, certainly the owners are very ambitious and they would like to help, and they would like to improve the squad in every opportunity they can, but the rules and the conditions we're working under don't allow that. So I don't know what to say in regards to that. That's just how it is, and we're acting in the way that we can.
I suppose the only sort of good thing in all of this for you now is that you don't have that hectic schedule where you're playing every 3 weeks. At least you're having a week between games now, and then you've got a 2 week break coming up. So it should allow the players that have been playing a lot to be a little bit more fresh. I
think that's a good point. I think when you go back to the Sunderland game, that was the first time in a while that I'd seen players look fresh, look back to themselves. And it sort of hit us, watching the game, reviewing the game and watching it live, that we were playing fatigued during that period where players didn't look themselves. But that was much more like us. Now I hope to see that again this weekend. No guarantee on result, but you'll see hopefully a much more Newcastle-like performance.
Thanks, Eddie.
Thanks, Keith.
No problem.
Andy?
Morning, Eddie. Just one on the derby. Upon return to the training ground, there were quite a few fans gathered outside with flags, etc. It was some welcome back. I just wondered what that was like for you and for the players after such an important win.
Yeah, I think the whole experience really of the day was really well coordinated. So I think there was very minimal trouble that I'm aware of, which I think was really important, that people went to the game, came back safely. So I thought that was managed really well. And then, of course, the welcome that we had back at the training ground was really nice to see. And I think it's appreciation really of the players' efforts and what they gave, and how well the players controlled their emotions during the game, and how we conducted ourselves on the pitch, I thought was of the highest level.
There was at least some other good news off the pitch this week. Obviously, Fabian Schär signing an extension to his contract. If someone had never met Fabian, how would you describe him as a player? How would you describe him as a person to that person?
I think the player and the person are actually quite similar. So what you see on the pitch, he's someone who's cool, calm, collected. He's very very confident without being arrogant. I think he believes in himself. I think he's got that confidence when he plays. But he's the same as a person. I think he's a great guy. I've built a good relationship with him. He's very highly intelligent. And I think that intelligence comes across on the pitch as well, because he makes very, very good decisions. He's technically outstanding. And he's defended very well. So yeah, I'm really pleased with Fabi. He deserves his new deal, and hopefully it's the start of another good period for him.
I hesitate to mention the injury word again, but elsewhere away from Joe Linton, the likes of Elliot Anderson, Joe Willock, what's the prognosis on them? Are they expected back anytime soon or not?
Excuse me, no, they're not expected back anytime soon. I think Elliot is continuing his rehab from a stress fracture in his back, which is a difficult injury to manage for him, and he's not been very active for a long period of time. He's trying to let his back heal. I think he has another scan next week, so hopefully that will give us good news and he can start to build up his work. With Joe Willock, he's improving. He's building up the strength in his Achilles. He's looking better, but he's still not running.
You've talked quite a lot about needing time on the training pitch. What difference are you hoping that even a full week on the training pitch will make on the pitch tomorrow night against Manchester City?
I think it's just reinforcing the habits of how we play. I think sometimes when you don't train, you lose that instinct, and we need the instinct behind our game. So I just felt the week or the period of time we had before Sunderland certainly helped, and I hope you see a really good Newcastle team performance at the weekend.
And just finally, to 650th game as a manager tomorrow night. At the relatively, dare I say, young age of 46, does it feel like 650 or not?
No, it doesn't. I think when I have a little smile when I hear that number, because that's a lot of games. It certainly doesn't feel that way for me. It feels like it's gone by in an absolute flash. I remember when I started in management, everyone talked about my age and how inexperienced I was. And in the end, I got tired of those questions. So now it's the other way around. Now it's too many games.
Cheers, Eddie.
Thank you.
Andrew? Eddie, next week you have off. What are you going to do with it as a squad?
Oh, I thought you were going to say me personally. As a squad, we're going to give the players some time away. So we're not going away as a team. We're going to just give them some time with their families. We've had a very intense period, so I think it would be nice for the players just to switch off for a few days.
You went last year to Saudi Arabia. Why not this time?
I just think with the schedule that we've had, the players have done an incredible amount of travelling. They've been in consistent football mode, so I think they need a period where they just switch off from that.
You referred earlier to the interview Darren Eales did yesterday about with the media, and he talked about profit and sustainability rules, which might, I hesitate, it was a distant prospect, but he held up the prospect of selling a star player to balance the books, as it were. What's your reaction to that? Does it put fear in you?
No, we discuss, believe it or not, we do discuss things on a regular basis, so there's no surprise to me. We've been working under financial fair play restrictions for a long time. I don't know if he said sell a star player. I think that might be words that the media have attached. Selling players is part of every football club's DNA now. I think it has to be with financial fair play rules, because we have to generate more income. And to sign players, we may have to sell players, but it doesn't necessarily mean star players, whatever you mean by that term. But certainly selling players will be something this club will do now for the foreseeable future.
Tomorrow, De Bruyne is back fit, as I understand, and may start. Haaland is back and may start. Rotten timing in that sense, isn't it? Because they are two very key players for Man City.
Yeah, you could look at it that way. I mean, I think whoever they play, they've got world-class players in every position, so I don't think we necessarily focus on those two players. Of course, they have obvious strengths and qualities that we need to control. So, I don't look at it as if we're unlucky. We have to perform well in the game.
And one last question. Callum Wilson, speaking on his podcast this week, talked about his injury problems and sort of hinted that it may be a slightly longer-term problem. What's your intelligence on that, on his problems?
Well, he hasn't told me if that's the case. No, we're well aware of what Callum's injury is and the timescale on it. We hope that he can be back in and around the Aston Villa game. That's what we're looking at. But obviously, if it takes a bit longer, we'll take that time. But we don't see it being a long-term issue.
Thanks, Andrew. Damien and Lee Ryder?
Eddie, when Darren was talking yesterday, he talked about the revenue of comparative clubs like Tottenham at 400 million, Man City at 710. Does that sort of quantify the gap off the pitch as well as on the pitch that you're trying to close at the moment?
Yeah, I think it does in terms of income, and financial fair play is all linked to income, so that's something we certainly have to long term try and bridge and try and grow every aspect of the club. That's obviously not my department, and I'm not responsible for that, but that's what internally we're looking to do, and that will give us the best chance then of being able to bring better quality players in. So everything is linked to income, and then we need to increase our revenues.
Sorry to harp on about injuries, but can I just check where Nick Pope is in?
Yeah, Nick's doing well. He's still in the early stages of his recovery. He's had his operation. He's very positive. He's looking good, but still has some way to go.
Thanks. Lee Ryder, then Dominic and Jordan.
Eddie, just on the player sales thing, obviously we've seen in the past the fans are a little bit haunted by like deadline day sales for like Andy Carroll, Johan Kabay. Can you offer any reassurance that we're not going to see a repeat of that in this window?
I can't offer any assurance on that, and regardless of our financial fair play situation or financial situation, that would be the case, because you can never tell what's going to happen in football. And I think I need to make this point clear. I think every Premier League club will sell players now because of the rules placed upon them. You've seen Manchester City sell some very, very good players recently, and their income, as Damien said, is probably the highest of any Premier League club. So that will be the landscape for everybody. We're no different.
And I guess if someone does get sold, it's probably for the greater good moving forward.
Yeah, we'll obviously try and make the right decisions for the short and long-term future of the club. I think we reluctantly sold Alan St Maximum in the summer, and that was down to financial fair play. And I think a lot of people looked at it and go, "Well, you've sold Alan, and then you've brought players in the other way." But selling players is vital to be able to bring players back in the other way, and that will continue to be the case, I'm sure.
And just a slightly lighter one on Joe White coming back from loan. Is he a player that might, given what's happened to Joe Linton, is he another midfielder that might give you? Is it a window of opportunity for him when he comes back?
Yeah, it is. We've decided to bring Joe back, and we'll see where he's at in terms of his development. He's done very well, especially latterly in his loan. So I'm really pleased with Joe, because a really highly talented player, had certain things to work on in his game. He's gone away on loan, and he's played regularly and started to contribute goals and assists, and that we'll bring him back and we'll see where his game's at, and then make a decision based on that, what we do with him.
Thanks. Dominic, then Jordan.
Just on the subject of loans, Isaac Hayden's loan at Standard Liège ended. What's the plan for him moving forward?
I think Isaac will go out on loan, possibly somewhere else.
Is there a deal lined up, or would you wait on offers to come in?
I'm slightly unsure on that, to be honest.
Just again on injuries, unfortunately. Jacob Murphy, it's been about 9 weeks since his surgery, which I think was the initial prognosis. Just how's he coming along?
Yeah, he's close. So Jacob has joined in training with us, not on a contact basis, but on a non-contact basis. So he's been in and around the team, which has been great, and his personality is really good. So he's been a big player to have back with us training.
Jordan.
Just to take the final box injuries, Harvey Barnes, is he close at all?
Harvey is getting closer. So he hasn't trained with the group, but he's been running on the grass. He's had his boots back on. He's been kicking balls around. So we're pleased with his progress currently. He still, again, has a long way to go.
And on a slightly more serious subject, did you see what happened with the Gambia flight yesterday? Yakuba Minteh was on board. Was aboard after 9 minutes because of lack of oxygen. Would it stand safely? Have you heard anything about that from the player or his representatives?
No, I was unaware of that story.
Okay.
But we obviously wish him well.
Yeah, and just on that, him as well, mentioned earlier on the transfer window, potentially could call him back. There's no automatic callback clause, but have you made a decision on his future?
Well, no, because there's no clause. That's a difficult situation for us. We'll assess all options regarding that one.
Okay. Chris, and then Luke.
More Eddie, I
Morning.
mean, in the same week that Darren Eales has come out and given these PSR statements saying about how you're struggling with FFP, you've been linked with players such as Dominic Solanke. First of all, do you have interest in Dominic Solanke? And second of all, how frustrating is it if there's reports like that when you obviously have this financial situation which you're trying to outline to show that you can't actually sign players?
Yeah, it's a frustrating story for me because, yes, I love Dominic Solanke. I signed him and rate him very highly. But we have not made an inquiry for him, and we don't have the ability to sign a player of that level.
I mean, in terms of potential incomings, though, is there still the chance that you could bring players in, be that on loan or permanently before the end of the window?
Yeah, we're not shutting the door on everything, but certainly as I sit here now, no, we're not going to bring anybody in, but that may change as the window unfolds.
Luke?
Having navigated your way through your last great actors.
Thanks for reminding me of that one.
No, yeah. Is it your job to keep pushing though, as the manager of the football club? Is it your job to keep going, having those meetings with Darren, having those meetings with Dan and saying, we can't be closed for business because of the injury situation?
Yeah, of course, my job is to push as hard as I can to improve the team. Whether that's on the coaching field, whether that's in the boardroom, my primary job is the team and to try and make it as best I can. So I will continue to do that. But obviously I have to respect and understand the football club's health is the primary concern of everybody because we want Newcastle here for the next 500 years and we want it in a really good place. So we have a long-term job as well. So, yeah, a mixture of all those things.
Have you had any sorts of inquiries about your players? Has anyone asked whether you're willing to sell anyone this month?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Does that surprise you?
No, I think that's quite normal practice because we're an ambitious football club. We want to move the team forward. We don't want to sell our best players, so I don't think that's abnormal.
Thank you.
Thanks, Luke. We've got Martin, Craig and then Scott.
Since you came here, do you think you're closing the gap on the pitch to Manchester City?
Well, I certainly think from the moment we arrived to where we are now, yes. Do we have some way to go? Yes, we do. Let's be honest. We've got. It might be slightly different if we had a full squad to pick from, and we had everyone available. Then I'd say. I'd like to see where we stand between them. And I'm not just talking Manchester City. I'm talking all the top teams in the Premier League. You know, where are we then? I think now we're in a slightly different position. But with a full squad of health, I think we'd be a lot closer.
And how hard is it to play against the Pep team?
Yeah, very difficult in every way, really. I think the way he sets his team up, he's very clever. He's constantly changing and evolving, so he's never static in his team. You never see the same team from one season to the next. He's always moved things forward, and usually for the better. So we then have to continue to improve ourselves. So I think he's been really good for the Premier League because I think he's made every other manager better, and he's been really good for the game here. So I'm full of respect for him, but determined to try and get closer to them.
And does the draw and the win and the cup suggest the team and the club is getting closer to that level?
Yeah, as I said, I think from the 2 years since we arrived, we're definitely stronger ourselves. We've definitely moved things forward very quickly. But when you compare ourselves to Manchester City, I think we have some way to go. But I think the only way to get closer to them, and I've said this many times, is to play them and is to compete against them. And to then you look at our competitive games this season, we've had so many tough games, but I think that long term will serve us in really good stead for the future.
And on a different theme, you touched on this before, how big a sympathy do you have for your travelling supporters in light of the Fulham game being moved to 7 o'clock kick-off and the last train back to Newcastle is 9 o'clock?
Yeah, it's incredibly difficult, and I think when I look at the support we've had away from home in some very difficult places to find and to navigate to and from, the support has just been incredible, and I think I'd love things to be easier for them in a game like this. But as I say, we're at the mercy of the scheduling.
That's right. Craig and then Scott.
Morning, Eddie.
Morning.
There was a lot of talk last year about the top 6 becoming the top 7 and you guys sort of being part of that. On reflection, and when we've spent time with Darren yesterday and you look at the numbers, Was that a little bit of an illusion? Was that, you know, what you achieved on the pitch in terms of the top 4 Champions League this year? In reality, are you not yet part of that set as a club?
Well, I've never said we are part of that set, but that will all be created by the media. So for us, I think it's a longer term vision. I don't think you can suddenly put yourselves in that bracket. You have to prove year on year. I think the accounts and what you'd have seen yesterday and Darren's information would have given you an insight into how far we have to go to become the team that everyone wants us to be. I think there was this conception where when the owners took over that we're the richest club in the world, and the reality is that's not really important when you're talking about financial fair play. That's irrelevant. So we are based on income, and as I said earlier, we have to improve those revenue streams.
Yeah. Darren spoke very well about you, and if you read those comments in terms of he wants you to be here for many years to come, that must have been reassuring.
It's very nice of Darren, and I hope to be here for many years. I'm also wise enough to know you can't predict anything in football, but no, I think we have. I think the best thing I can say is we have a really good, open, honest relationship with not just between me and Darren, but between me and everyone connected with Newcastle. And I think the honesty part is so important. I've been in no doubt about this situation that we're in for a long time, and I've mentioned it here many transfer windows, and I'm sure you've got bored of me saying it, but hopefully that just gives you a better understanding of where we're coming from.
Thanks, Craig. Scott, now we'll go across to Kieran.
Eddie, if you look at January last year, obviously Anthony came in at the end, and that was kind of very much a long-term strategic kind of transfer. It feels a little bit different this year in that there probably are short-term issues to address. I mean, where do you stand on using a transfer window to do, you know, can literally make an assignment purely for the next 3 or 4 months if you have to? Because some managers are happy with that, some managers are very much, it's not what I do.
Yeah, I think it's a very good question. I think I would be sort of straight down the middle on that. I think sometimes you have to make short-term signings. You have to take your long-term vision away and just deal with the here and now. And I'd be quite prepared to do that if the situation arose that that we could agree something that helped us for the here and now. Of course, there's some signings where, like Anthony, as you say, where you're looking at and going, well, he's going to help us for the next 4 or 5 years, and I believe he can be an outstanding player, and you commit to that long-term vision. We're probably, as you rightly said, in a short-term moment now where the squad needs help for the next few weeks.
Kieran, Simon and Oscar to finish.
Eddie, have you seen any value in the loan market this month?
Well, I think there's a lot of value in the loan market. Whether it's value that we can utilise is something totally different. I'm not sure there's many clubs out there that are willing to help us currently. And to agree a loan deal, you need the club to agree to that deal. So I think we're in that moment where I'm not sure we have many friends in the market.
Can you elaborate on that, maybe?
I think if you're intelligent enough, I think you can work it out. I'm sure you're good enough to do that.
Finally, Manchester City have had a lot of success at academy level as well. Have you seen the progress here in the last year? Just in terms of you had to rely on the academy more than ever again.
Yeah, I think that's one of the long-term visions of the club, is to make the academy as productive as the clubs that you mentioned. I think we're on the way to doing that. I don't think when you make changes to the academy and have long-term visions, these things always take a long time, and probably a longer time than anyone realises. Steve Harper's doing an incredible job, I think, with the resources that he's had and he's having to make the changes to improve everything. But we've already seen the fruits of that labour, really, when you look at the impact that the likes of Elliot and Louis and hopefully Joe coming back, and of course the longer term products that are in our squad. It's vital that with the current rules we have and we're working under, that we do produce players, whether they're good enough for us or we're going to sell them on to other clubs and they have good careers elsewhere. It's going to be as important as it's ever been to us.
Thanks. Simon and Oscar.
On the selling front, it was explained to us that it's not necessarily the star players that you can sell to make the biggest profit. It's actually the younger lads who are academy products and the people who you've groomed and not cost you anything. The likes of Sean Longstaff and Lewis Miley. Has Sean Longstaff, and probably not Miley at the minute, has he got a long-term future at the club in terms of being vulnerable to being sold? The way it was explained, that was kind of.
Yeah, I think the rules are a shame because it shouldn't be.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be that way. The people that you invest in and develop shouldn't be the ones you benefit more from selling, in my opinion. But we have to work within the rules. Sean's got a long-term future here. Hopefully I've demonstrated that with my picking of him. In most games that I've had the opportunity to, he's becoming a vital part of our midfield. So yeah, we love him. We love Louis. We love all our academy products, and I think they have that attachment to the football club. Like Sean has an attachment to the football club that you could only have from being a local player, and we would desperately not want to lose that.
And on the other issue I want to touch on was the timing of games again. I mean, you've had Liverpool away at 8 p.m. New Year's Day, Fulham away at 7 on a Saturday, Arsenal away Saturday at 8 o'clock. I know you're at the mercy of TV companies and the money they give you. Is there anything the club or you or influential people can do to kind of change that and change the debate about that and make things fair?
Well, apart from not turning up, which I'm not sure that would do us much good, I'm not sure what we can do. Of course, we can give our opinion to the people that make those decisions, but I think unfortunately it's about money.
Or get a better train service, a later train service.
That would be nice as well, wouldn't it? But again, I think those things are difficult.
Thanks, Simon. Oscar to finish.
Eddie, on the question of selling players, do you have the final say on outgoings? So if the club receive a bid they'd be inclined to accept, but you're adamant you don't want to sell, what happens?
We've not really been in that situation, but I think it would be a joint decision. As much as I could say, I don't think that's a good deal. Ultimately, when it comes down to financial fair play, after seeing what's happened to Everton, that would be taken out of my hands, I'm sure.